All right, we're going to get started here. Morning, everybody. My name is Alan Land. I was the coordinator for this last mission trip. I'm going to start, before we even start, I'm going to start with some thanks from people of St. Matt's for all your prayer and your support. It was really, it really helped us. Also, Pastor Chris and Al Van Lith, because they helped in getting this put together. It worked really well. And Jon Stolz for putting together this PowerPoint presentation. It helped, and Brian, thanks for the help getting this all set up because it makes things a lot easier. I'm going to start with two videos. The first video, it's for some who were at last year, was playing like half of it. It's kind of like the history of SBP. SBP is basically, it was called the St. Bernard Project. That's where they started from Hurricane Katrina. And they had a good model that really worked. They got some good corporate support. And because of that, they've expanded now, and they're in 10 other locations now where we do mission trips. And so they just changed it from St. Bernard Project because St. Bernard Project, it's like in Wisconsin we have counties, they have different projects. So that was St. Bernard area, so they just changed it to SBP now. I'll start with the first video and show us a little of the history of how they got started.
6 months after Katrina, we wanted to pitch in and help out.
We started building houses, the two of us.
And people just started coming. It was so incredible. They volunteered, they donated, and that kicked off SBP. It was really an adventure, learning how to do construction.
I have family who've lost homes and have never come back from Katrina. We're here to get the city back to what it once was.
We had our first AmeriCorps team work with us soon after we opened up. We thought with more staff and more volunteers and more AmeriCorps members and money, we would be able to see more families come home, and the exact opposite was happening. The results were getting worse.
We knew we needed to work smarter, we just didn't know how. To do that, we had to change, and we were really fortunate to have met Toyota at that point.
Over the last 70 years, Toyota's been developing how to create the best production system possible.
If we do something well, we want to share it. We want to give it back to the community. The whole thinking behind the Toyota production system is continuous improvement. And how do we improve the process? We want to get everybody back home. In Toyota, if the shop floor line stops, there's a problem. You can see it very quickly. In this kind of setting, across the whole city of New Orleans, it's not so simple to see.
Before Toyota came in, we had a lot of information about our different clients' homes, but a lot of it was sort of tucked away and hidden in computers. When you have a whiteboard system that's set up, it's easy for anybody to use, it's easy for anybody to read and track all the different projects and whether they're ahead or behind.
We were the good guys, right? We were successful, we had built more houses than anyone else. We didn't talk about problems.
By eliminating problems, we're getting incrementally better. We fix little things all day long, and the collective of all those little things helps overall performance significantly.
People said there weren't enough ladders.
We named all of our ladders so that way we know, all right, we do have 2 extension ladders, we don't have to go buy another 2.
Some of them we give like human names like Morty, Tuesday,
Emily,
Or step along.
Laddersaurus Rex.
It was taking us 116 days to build houses before Toyota, and after it was 61 days. We reduced construction time almost by half. So, you know, that's a big difference.
Once you're liberated and you can actually talk about what's not working, and there's a tried and true process to fixing it, then you can really think big. So you look at Toyota's team. If you do it well, share it. We've worked in 4 different states, training other organizations. We can change disaster recovery in America.
I do have a dream job. To see the impact, you can't see that in metrics.
This is how it should be. This is people enjoying their life.
I love it.
And what we do is help people get back to just being normal and living their lives.
So that was how SBP got started. Like I said, they've gone in several locations. They're in 10 different locations now. And I want to show you another video here of the, basically the Houston.
It worked so hard to get this house. And I saw it and I seen that we couldn't save everything. I remember trying to pick up stuff and thinking, oh, this is hopeless.
So SBP is here in Houston now. So today we're here rebuilding Miss Sylvia's house, and we're doing that with volunteers from Toyota, which is part of their incredible partnership that has really taken SBP to the next level, and they're being led by our AmeriCorps members.
It's a really good feeling because that means I'm just more closer to getting back home.
And so for us, we realize that human beings have a breaking point, and the faster we can rebuild their homes, the faster they can rebuild their lives and get back to normal. We have full-time employees, full-time AmeriCorps members who are recruiting volunteers and leading them on construction sites each day.
We spent $1 million to establish SBP here in Southeast Texas because their model works. We've seen how good they are at shrinking the time between disaster and recovery. There's lots of lessons learned, hard lessons learned by SBP that will really help other organizations in this community ratchet up. And this is an important point. They're going to come in here and share what they know with others, because this is going to take a collective effort to get this done.
And we hope to start construction on many, many more homes throughout Houston in the coming days. The more volunteers we have, the more AmeriCorps members we have, the more support we have from organizations like Toyota and others, the faster we'll be able to rebuild for more people. We're going to have Miss Sylvia and her family back home by Christmas.
It's very important to us, and we cherish the holidays because that's our time. So to know that we're going to be able to be home, at our home, to know that there's people willing to go out of their way and help, it means a lot because I've never expected it. Although I did know that there was a lot of good people, I just didn't think they would make it all the way here, especially to me. I don't know how to express enough how much my family appreciates this because we really wouldn't know what to do without SVP.
The end of that video. Got a PowerPoint all set up. Before I start that, I'm going to talk a little bit about what they talked about in Toyota. They started with $1 million contribution. Right after that, it's when J.J. Watt, former Wisconsin Badger, he started the funding effort, which started with $200,000 of his own money, and they wound up $37 million of that money he donated to SBP because he saw the organization was so well run. So that was a significant part of getting things done. One of the things that we'll go over is it's amazing when you work with an organization so well run. Some of you have worked on some of our mission trips. It's very frustrating. You get to a location, you don't know, they don't have anything ready for you. You're just sitting around, you're waiting for like a half a day or whatever. That was totally not the situation here. I had our coordinator from SBP. I was coordinating with her for like 6 months before, getting everything set up. You know, is everybody signed up? Okay, yes, everybody is signed up. Fill it, got everything straightened out. We got on site, and the roofers were coming off the building. As we got there, we had about a 5-minute introduction of everybody, whatever, and we started work right away. The equipment was there, it was ready to go, it was very well run. And that's why we're going to be planning our next trip. We're going to be working in future with SBP also. The youth trip, they're also going to be going to Houston this summer, and we're planning another one this October again. So we'll talk a little bit about, here's some of the stuff about Hurricane Harvey. 3 times Hurricane Harvey made landfall, fall within 6 days. You can imagine a year's worth of rainfall in just a few days. 203,000 homes were damaged, of which 12,700 were completely destroyed. SBP, they go beyond just rebuilding homes. We'll talk a little bit about that. Because they are so well organized, they are not only rebuilding homes, but they're trying to work with the people who want to get their homes fixed. They're working on them. These are the forms you need to fill out. You're going to have to work with the federal government to fill out these forms, whatever, and just help people along, the process of signing up so they can get their homes rebuilt. Shared their rebuilding innovations. FEMA has actually worked with SVP to see how they did it, because they've become so efficient in how they did it, and it's a good product. Again, preparing homes and business owners prior to disaster. If you go on the SBP site, they have all the forms that they need to fill out for federal assistance, just to get them prepared for get everything going so we can move things along faster. And they also advise policymakers as far as what they can do for federal monies. It's what a municipality or a state can do. They help legislators pass certain legislation to move things along too. And also advocate for reform and disaster recovery strategies. Very well run. We worked with the 2 organizations. SBP is pretty much like the planner. AmeriCorps, those are the, usually they're college students, but not all. They basically have like a 10-month contract they sign. We have an option to sign another 10-month contract. So SBP trains AmeriCorps. AmeriCorps trains us when we go out and get onto the site. Here was our group.
What a group.
What a group that was. Here's where we stayed, and this is where the youth are going to be staying. It was the Morty Ridge Hostel. This was a former mansion that was converted into a hostel, and it was our accommodations. We stayed there for the entire week, and that's where the youth are going to be, and they're going to have the whole hostel to themselves. We had to share with a few other people, but accommodations were nice. This was a kitchen area and the breakfast. Their charges were, I think it was like $49 a night, something like that. It was really reasonable. But that included our stay as well as food for breakfast. They had, continental breakfast. But they also had pancake mix and eggs, whatever. You could, make additional stuff. It was usually cereal and things like that. And then Al Van Lith, we would go to the grocery store. We bought sandwiches so that we packed our lunches using their refrigerators and all our stuff. So we packed our lunches that day. So when we went to the site, then at lunchtime we just ate whatever we packed. So it worked out. It worked out real well. This location was also really good because in the evening we're on our own. We go to any kind of restaurant, or we're on our own, and there were a lot of places just within walking distance. We didn't even have to get in our vans. It was like maybe 6-8 blocks, I think, the furthest restaurant we went to, and the grocery stores were real close by, so it was a real convenient location. Each room had bunk beds. Like for ours, for the guys, we had 3 sets of bunk beds. We had our own kitchen facilities. Women had the same thing. They also had a separate room for the married couples if they wanted to stay with each other. They had a separate room for them, and so there was plenty of room that was available. Also had a swimming pool there if anyone. I don't think anyone went swimming, but you're too tired. We just hanging out afterwards. Yeah, it was a little cold too. Here was the house that we were working on. Will and Sarah Pointer. If you can't read that, it says, they noticed the water rapidly rising outside their home. When the water reached their front step, they decided to make the journey through knee-high water down the street to a neighbor's home. Water flooded their home, and came through the roof, rising to about 3 feet inside. Pointers lost everything, including clothes, furniture, and decades of memories. One of the things, they were not in a floodplain, but when you have that much water, they weren't even close to a floodplain. So they didn't have floodplain insurance because they were nowhere near it, as were a lot of these people. And you get that much rain, it just goes all over. Here was our picture on site. Like I said, the roofers were there. They were just finishing the roofing. They were coming off as we were getting in. And Linda Jansen was our representative that I was working with. And she introduced herself. We met, talked for a few minutes, introduced us to our crew, and we started work. And here was the rest of the crew. It's the view of the backyard. We couldn't even get to the backyard. The only way to get to the backyard was going through the back door, because the side yard was from knee high to hip high of just debris. And it took us, it was a couple of hours to clean that out just so you could walk back there. So there was just so much debris from all over the place. There's just some of the doors. There was just debris from all over. It was not even necessary from this property. It was just everywhere. We were, in that picture, we were standing in those bag dumpsters. They had, there was one dumpster that was almost all filled, and we filled 5 more of them, just the stuff in the debris on the side of the yard. We filled that up. And it was kind of nice because then the next day, we saw the trucks come, they pick it up, and they just put them up, and they took them away from us. And there was a lot of debris there. I never got a chance to go through some of the stuff here. Here's some of our cast of characters. We met Mrs. Pointer. A lot of times, you know, you'd like to meet the owners. A lot of times we can't. You know, they're working or they're not available. She was available. We met her. We didn't meet Will Pointer. He's a truck driver, so he starts early in the morning. So he would get his mail in the morning. He'd be gone before we were even there. So there was Sarah Pointer. It was pretty emotional for her because not only that she saw the progress, but she was so excited how excited we were to see her. She was in tears. So it was really neat. So she went back to the SBP staff afterwards, told them how she was all tearful because we were so excited to see her and how excited we were to get her house done. It's a neat experience. Here's an example. We start each day with an icebreaker. We're just in a circle, had the icebreaker, and they started with their demonstration. Okay, here's what you need to do. And they give us instructions on what to do. You can see all the drywall. None of it was taped at that point in time. There was a few pieces of drywall that weren't even up yet that we had to do, but they're just showing us their technique to do that. The good thing too with SBP, some of the other prior trips, somebody would drop off and say, we need you to do this. They drop, they leave, and they come back in the afternoon or in the evening. And I was like, okay, you have questions, what do you do? There was always 2 or 3 people on site at all times. So you had any questions, they'd answer. If they didn't answer, they had their walkie-talkies. They could call. If there any equipment they needed, they would call it in and they'd get the equipment. If we needed more equipment, it was between 24 and 48 hours. The equipment would come in, like I said, very well organized. Some of our handiwork. Okay, then once we finish the walls, then it gives instructions how to work on the ceilings, a little bit different technique for the mudding of the ceilings. Again, the instructions showed us how, and we just went out there and just started doing it. Pastor Chris showed up. We were the, I would say like the scout troop, because he was scouting out, you know, the facilities and all that, and seeing if this would work for the youth trip, as far as, you know, the type of work and the accommodations for the hostel and all that. So actually, the youth trip, they're going to be taking over the entire hostel. They have the whole place, so it's already been booked. So it'll be just the St. Matthew's crew at the hostel. Some of them had trouble at the beginning. What was it? So a lot of us, they had those ladders there for us because the ceilings were too high, but most of us are not very, very tall. So it was a lot of benefit to get up there, made it easier. Doing a lot of taping of the corners. We only had one closet in that house. We had a 2-bedroom, 1-bath home. Very small. I don't think even was 1,000 square feet. It couldn't have been, I don't think. It was pretty small. And Will Porter, that was their house. He was actually born in that house. So he's the second generation to own that house. So there was a lot of meaning to them to make sure they kept that house. It's kind of interesting because I've done some drywall before, and I've been on some mission trips where we're doing, the sanding towards the end. The technique that they use for us, we really didn't have a lot of sanding to do, because if you do the taping right, there shouldn't be a lot of sanding, and there really wasn't a lot of sanding that we needed to do. It's some really good techniques for us to get that done. I think a more appropriate slide this might have been praying these guys get this right here. Measuring the tape, you can make sure we cut it long enough so we have enough tape there. Here's mudding in the kitchen. There's Al. He was one of the few tall ones, whatever. Most of them needed benchers. It's just him showing off to everybody he didn't need the ladder. That's what we did all day, all week. We just mudded. That closet was a real bugger because it was real small, and there was a lot of. I didn't work in there. I stayed out of that. A lot of people worked in there. That was a lot of work. Here's John stuck in the closet there trying to finish things up. There's Al showing off again. There's just a lot of rooms we just worked on it until we got done. Yeah. In some of the later pictures, you'll see that the mudding area was getting a little bit wider, because after we did the first step, then we had to expand, the second coat to smooth it out and get all that done. So it was working out pretty good. You can see it getting a lot wider now. We were doing the finished coats and bringing things widen it out and smooth it out. Another show off here. Another tall guy. The bathroom, that was a mess. Boy, that was really hard. It has the green drywall because of the moisture. But some people were not cutting exactly right, so we had one heck of a time trying to get that fixed up. And as it turns out, there's some final pictures which they sent us about a month after we finished. Actually, that wound up being one of the nicest rooms. It looked really nice and did a really fine job. Of course, we had to clean up at lunchtime and at the end of the day, because they'd get the equipment all clean, make sure it was working properly. Again, the beauty of SPP is you don't have to bring your equipment. You don't have to bring tool belts. You don't have to bring anything. Everything is there, and if they don't have it, they'll get it. So that was also really nice. Some mission trips we've had to grab our own equipment, take it there. Everything was there. Just bring your bodies and be prepared to work. Picture. And that was our, finally we cut out on Friday, so that was our, on Friday night, then we went down to Galveston, whatever, we went to Bubba Gump's restaurant, we all had, it was really nice, and thanks a lot for the Andersons for paying for that meal, we really appreciate it. That was a really special surprise. They were hoping to get them in by Thanksgiving. They missed it by 1 week, but 1 month after we had left, they moved into their house. And this is their celebration of their house being done on the inside. Some of the pictures that were sent to us after the house was complete. So the SBP was really good in keeping us, any crew that worked on that house, here's the update, so you knew what was going on. Here's the kitchen. Yeah, in just like I said, 1 month, they finished that bathroom. That was a real bugger. They did a really nice job. It turned out real nice. And there was the party afterwards. Oops. That's pretty much it as far as the slides. What I want to do is when it gets the opportunity, Deb, if you want to talk a little about your experiences, some of the other rest of the other volunteers talk about their experiences.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Deb Stolz, and my husband John and I joined St. Matt's 1 year ago. And there were many reasons that we felt called to the congregation, but one of the most important ones for me was the community service and outreach St. Matt's is known for. As John and I began to discuss the possibility of participating in an adult mission trip, neither one of us had participated in a mission trip in the past. Neither one of us had extensive experience or knowledge in how to remodel a home. Yet we felt that we could volunteer our time to help a family in Houston to get back into their home after Hurricane Harvey. We also felt as new members of St. Matt's, this would be a perfect opportunity for us to get to know other members beyond the Sunday service. As I began to prepare for the trip, I got advice from many of the participants that attended previous mission trips. Everyone reassured me that SBP provided all the tools, all the instruction on site, which you saw that they did, that I'd be able to do any of the work jobs, any of the tasks with the proper instruction that our group was assigned to. I reviewed the videos that were emailed to each of us prior to the trip. I was getting really excited. I even went to Home Depot to get my work gloves and my knee pads for the trip. I was ready. When we arrived to the Pointer family home, we listened to the instructions and my mind was racing. Mudding, taping, sanding every day for 5 days. Really? It takes that long to make sure the walls, the ceiling, the frames are all that even? I couldn't believe it. Well, we did it. All of us were tired, sore, and extremely dusty and dirty each and every day. Throughout the week, I had a hard time grasping that a family lost everything due to the hurricane, and that there were still thousands of families that still don't have quality homes. So much more to be done in Houston. The experience was beyond what I imagined for the trip. We were working together as a team so that the Pointer family could return to their home that Mr. Pointer was born and had lived over 60 years in. Every volunteer that helped on this home was making this happen for a family that none of us even knew. I felt very blessed to be part of the project. Would I participate in another mission trip? Absolutely. I had no idea what I was doing when we started that Monday morning, but I knew that being in that home with a group of amazing people from St. Matt's was the place that I should be. It was such a rewarding experience knowing that I was volunteering my enthusiasm and time to help a family return to their home. I'd like to thank Al and Al for organizing the trip, you as the congregation, the pastors, and the church council for the support for youth and adult mission trips, and for the social ministry that's conducted through St. Matt's. All the community service and outreach that we do is simply amazing, and we do make a difference. Thanks.
Kind of reiterating on what Deb said, this happens every time. I've been doing this for a number of years now, And the same thing happened this time. They said, you guys really care. You guys made a difference. Stories was amazing because there's a lot of corporate sponsorships going on over a number of companies. And they said, yeah, we've got some volunteers here. They said, well, we actually don't want to be here, but we have to because we're getting paid to do this. So they didn't even want to be there. And he said, you guys aren't getting paid and you're doing this. So they really appreciated it because they knew we enjoyed it and we really got a lot out of it. So it was good feedback to get back from them. Want to speak a little bit?
Me?
Yes. Well,
Sure. I'm usually told to be quiet, but.
every once in a while.
Every once in a while.
Somebody
So-
wants to hear from you, huh?
So, I don't even remember how many of these trips I've gone on. But every year, I would always say, okay, this is the last one. I'm not doing this again. But then when time would come around, it would be like, well, maybe it wouldn't be so bad. So I became of the mindset that if I didn't go, whatever I could have done while I was there wouldn't have gotten done. So whatever I did was something that was helping in the overall cause. So maybe I wasn't 30 years old and able to do a really hard-going job of it, but I did what I could, and I kept up fairly well, and I would go again. So if you're ever thinking about doing one of these, they're not going to ask you to do something that's way beyond your capability. You'll get training, you'll get to go with a great group of people, and you'll be helping somebody who really needs the help. This time we were fortunate to get to meet the actual owners. A lot of times you aren't, and it doesn't really make a difference. I mean, it's nice that you get to meet them, but it doesn't really make a difference if you do or not, because you have the feeling that you were able to help and you helped to the best of your ability. So it's a great experience. It's fun to get to know everybody. We have a good time, and consider going on one of these.
Thanks, Auntie.
Al and Al are great leaders for us.
If anyone is interested, John.
Yeah. Just a quick comment. Can you bring up the one of the pictures of the backyard that was such a mess? So the morning that we were kind of in between mudding and sanding, and we really had some time to clean out the backyard. And the hardest decision that I made during the whole trip was this. When we got into that backyard, a lot of people had already cleared some things out. And so when I was in the backyard, I saw this book laying under some rubble. So I went and picked up this book. I opened it up. It was the family Bible. And you know how many families, they have one cherished Bible that has gone through the generations. And I looked at it and saw some writing in it, but it was so far damaged. And so I really struggled with, should I get this to them or just get rid of it, because it's really musty and moldy and in disrepair. So I finally did put it in here because I knew it probably would have meant something to them, but it was so bad it would have made everything around it damaged. So that was the sad part for me. Everything else was great, but that struggle of deciding, should I try and do something with this Bible, or maybe it should be gone? So that's what I did. I put it along with the garbage, and I didn't feel real good about it. Other than that, trip was great, a lot of work, and glad we went. Thanks.
Thanks, John. I sent an email to all the staff. On Friday, I got an update from SPP on what's going on. And for the year, they got 100 people. Here's the email that I sent. I sent everybody to this morning, but I just got it on Friday. Let's see here. It says, let me start by saying thank you as we start another year. I hope that you take the time to reflect on the life-changing impact you have had on disaster-impacted families who, without your help, could have been pushed beyond their breaking point. Because of you, our volunteers, donors, and partners, that 100 families across Houston were welcome home in 2018. There's still, it was staggering, there's still 100,000 people that are not in their homes or are living in their homes that are moldy because they have no other place to go. Like the Pointers, they went, their church was only like a block and a half there away, so they went there, as did a lot of other people. After a certain amount of time, they were going to hotels and motels and friends and going back and forth. And you can imagine that for a whole year, you're going from wherever you can find a place to live and all you have is clothes on your back. It was really difficult for them. So it was neat that they talk about that SBP Houston got 100 people back in their homes. So here's a little video that they attached. I'll play for you.
Some other state. And I mean, working and volunteering and spending your hot summer out here, man, I am just thankful.
So all of you who did get a chance to read your email that I sent this morning, that's what's in there. For those who are interested, we are going again in October. The dates have not been set yet. I'm working with Al Van Lith on that. We already have our project coordinator, Linda Jansen, who was our coordinator. Her 10-month period was up, so she forwarded the email on the communications with, so we already know we've got Andrew Davis. He's a new coordinator, so we already got that set up. We're willing to go in October. He's the person that I'll be communicating with. So we're all set to go. We just have to pick the date. We'll probably know within the next week or two exactly when it's going to be. And if anyone's interested, I've got a sign-up sheet there. Any questions? Yes?
I came in late. What is SBP?
It stands for St. Bernard Project. That's how it started in New Orleans and during the Hurricane Katrina. And St. Bernard Project, St. Bernard is like a, we consider like a county. St. Bernard Project was the county in there. That's where they started, and because they went into so many different locations. Actually, they're in New Orleans, New York, New Jersey, South Carolina, Houston, Puerto Rico. They're in California now for the wildfires. They're in Puerto Rico now. And they closed up, they finished their work in Joplin, San Marco, Texas, and White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. So they're working in so many areas, they didn't want to be called St. Bernard Project, so they just relabeled themselves SBP, because they're working in so many different locations.
How is it funded?
It's funded through donations and corporate sponsors. There's a lot of corporate sponsors. Toyota, UPS, I think it was Home Depot. There's a lot of corporate sponsors that are, and so they're basically sponsoring really SBP, the administrative part of it, and they also help pay the salaries for the AmeriCorps, but it's through donations. Anybody else?
I just wanted to say that there were a lot of homeless people that you would see everywhere. I mean, you see them in Milwaukee, but it was amazing. Wherever we'd seem to drive, you would see homeless camps and homeless people. And one of the evenings that we went out for dinner, I actually wound up talking to some people who work with the homeless down there, and they've got their hands full, so I'm just happy to see that houses are still being worked on, because there's so many people that need it.
Like I said, I was surprised when they told us they still have 100,000 people that either are homeless or because they left, they're out of options, they're moving into their mold-infested house just because they're sleeping there on the floor or whatever until their time comes where their house can get fixed up. And with that many, so this is going to be going on for several years. They got, the SBP themselves got 100 homes complete. There's a long way to go. There's other organizations working out there, but it's going to be going on for a long time. Yes.
What advice or inspiration or motivation would you share with the youth that are going to Houston this summer?
I guess for us, just knowing what you're doing and how much of an impact is just, I guess I would say, think of yourself for an entire year trying to find a place to live. You're on your own. All you have is the clothes on your back. Even if you do have a job, whatever, what are you going to do? Where are you going to live? What are you going to do? These people, the Pointers was a perfect example. They started with the church, then they went to a hotel, then they went to motels, and then sleeping with friends, and Will Pointer, he had a job and he was fully employed, but he's got to get going in the morning. So he's there every morning, got the mail and took off. We never saw him, but we met Sarah Pointer. But it's just knowing the impact you are going to have. Like I said, for us, the house looked like there was a lot of work to be done, but within 4 weeks they finished that house. What happens is, once you finish, if volunteers stop, the SBP volunteers, they get together and they finish off. If there isn't somebody there, they're working together to finish it off. That's why they're good at giving advice, because they've done it all, And so if the volunteers aren't there, then they're doing the work, for the 10 months. It's just a feeling of accomplishment that, you see some of the videos, you've seen the people are so happy they're back in their homes again. I think that's a good video. I'm losing my stuff. Just sharing with some of these videos with the youth, and look at the impact that's happened. We've got 100 SBP got 100 people in their homes this past year, and there's still a lot more to go. And we were fortunate because we met Sarah, and she like I said, she was in tears. She was really, not only the progress, but the fact that we were so excited to see her. She went back to the SBP office and she said how she was overwhelmed, just because we were so excited to see her. And I don't know what your situation is going to be. You've got a large group, so you're probably going to be working in several homes. But it's just a feeling that you're doing whatever you can just to help people get back in their homes again.
I think too, with that, I was a newbie. I mean, I still couldn't tell you, I could maybe, sing and paint, that stuff. But that they don't have to know anything. And that's the same thing with the adult trip. I mean, I knew zilch. They teach you everything and instruct, and then your team works together. Like my peers, they all helped me and say, oh, Deb, this way, So it is a rewarding experience. It's just, for me, it was life-changing for that, to know that we're helping somebody that we never even knew.
Yeah.
And I would like to add too, I've gone on a couple of the adult trips, and I've gone on a couple of the youth trips as well. And seeing the pictures and the videos and it's moving, it has an impact, but the first trip I went on was a youth trip after Katrina, and when you actually get there and see, the pictures just don't show how devastating it really is, and when the youth see that, that it really like kind of immediately refocuses and shows them, okay, this really is extremely serious and very bad, and then too, with some of the areas that I've worked in are more poverty-stricken areas. So you not only do you get there and see a devastation that you just can't wrap your head around until you see it, but then you're fixing a house and people are so excited about moving back into a house that a lot of our youth, I think, are still looking at this going, really, that's what you're happy about? Because that's not what they're used to. They're very lucky to grow up and, to live in an area where they're, the house that we worked on this summer, like he said, there was one closet. It was this little tiny house, and that was one thing we noticed where he said, there's no closets. Well, they just need it for stuff. And, and so just the whole aspect of it when you get there and are experiencing it and, and meeting, people that they've gone to church with, some of them their whole lives and just don't really know. So the relationships building is amazing. But I think it's just a very eye-opening experience when you actually see it.
Thanks, Lisa. I know the very first time I went, Katrina, I went with my brother-in-law, who was a pastor in a church in Indiana, and I just finished a work project, so I had some time, so I went down there. And we went down there like literally days after Katrina it was such a mess. So we went down there. We had to be self-contained. We had to bring our own water, our own food, our own everything, because there was nothing running. And we went down there, and when we got to our site, we were staying at a church. And I just remember calling my wife up. I was just in tears. It was like everywhere you looked, there was just devastation everywhere. I mean, you couldn't even travel. Maps we had as far as you couldn't tell streets because the street signs were down. You had a situation where even if you could go to the street, you had to stop because this big, 100-year oak is across the street. So you had to back up. So you had to, go back and, try to retrace your steps and try to find the right place. And then after I did that, and Pastor Gary's one who encouraged me to start, to get this started here. And we went back to Biloxi with 3 years. I think it was 3 years. With 3 different years we did it, and it was amazing seeing from the very first time towards the end the progress that happened over the years. It was just amazing. So it just you do your own little part, and hopefully it's very impactful. You see it what people have gone through. You can't help but want to help people out. Anybody else? All right, thanks. Oh, yes, question.
Do you know anything about how SBP, like how the families get involved with them, or how that kind of happens?
Yeah, actually, they encourage. It's really a lot of it is word of mouth. They get out there. They have their website. So if you're impacted, if you go to their website now, and it's for organizations, for people that are impacted, business that are impacted. It said, if you are a business, you go to that part of the site, whatever. If you want to get somebody on the list, you need to fill out these forms, and it helps you for federal assistance. It helps for, it's just, like I said, SBP has gotten to the point where they're so very well organized. You go to their site and you get in, you sign up, and if you want to volunteer for any site, you say, where do you want to volunteer? Here are all the different locations you can go. So it is very well organized, and that's one of the reasons we like working for them, is because it just makes our jobs a lot easier, and it just helps get things moving along a lot faster. You saw it, they cut the time to get people in their homes in half. And one of the things that they said, one of the kind of key phrases which they said, it was kind of hit home, is we're trying to get people to remove the locks from the outside of the house and put them on the inside of their house. Get them inside their house so you don't have to remove the locks from the outside so they can get in until the house, you want to get those houses done. So that's kind of what we're there to do. It's going to be a long process. Unfortunately, now we've got the California fires, and there always seems to be something going on. But a lot of people were surprised when I told them that it's still 100,000 people in Houston. They said, well, that was a long time. It's been over a year. It's like, it's going to be several more years before it gets, we get back to normal again.
How did they, having worked on the project, it wasn't quite clear to me. Did they give an indication of how they vet who comes first? When people express a need?
No, that's a good question. I don't know.
Because I know when we worked in Minot, they seemed to vet the greatest need there really well. But that wasn't SB. I realized that wasn't the same group, but I was just wondering.
Yeah, I don't know. Deb, I know that you were visiting some friends there that had insurance for their house. I want you to share that story as far as the mold.
My cousin lives there, so we had the opportunity to visit them one evening. But their friends were in a zone, and they are well-to-do, you know, that was when they had to decide about the reservoir, opening that up. And it totally took out like a Wauwatosa. And the family did have insurance, and the insurance, however, wasn't flood, but the insurance said, okay, we will only repair to what the flood waters went into your home, like that 3 feet of drywall, and that's it. Well, they were very fortunate. They had money. They brought in a contractor. They removed their kitchen cabinets, and the mold had already spread all the way up. And so that just broke my heart, knowing that families, you know, like the Pointer family, didn't have that money. There are many other families that didn't, that people just came in and just repaired what they saw and not removed all the mold. And so with SBP, you know, they literally, you know, evaluate everything, and that just was an eye-opener too, that it hit everybody. You know, and it depended too on your economic status, financial ability, whether your home was, how it was repaired. So.
And unfortunately, in many of these situations, contractor people come in and they get the money up front and they say they're gonna repair stuff, and then they just take off. And so if you even have any money to repair your house and you think you're trusting somebody to do it, you give them the money and then they're gone. You're out your money. You have no other way to pay somebody else, that even if they come in, you're out of cash and out of luck.
You know, Nancy, a good point, because you know we've served in New Orleans, we've done Houston, you know, Biloxi, Joplin, Minot. Every place we've gone, same thing. We're hearing the same thing: contractor fraud. That happens every time, even if you do have insurance. You know, they get the money down, or they'll say, I need 50% to get the money. They take off, never seen again. You know, it happens every time.
They're gone.
They're gone. Who do you sue?
They're gone in the wind.
They took their money, they left. So now they're sitting there because they did have money. They gave them money for the contractor. They get, and now the contractor left. They don't have any money now. Yeah. Any other questions? All right, thanks a lot for your time. Appreciate it. Again, if you're interested, I'm going to sign up the sheet. Doesn't commit you to it, but it'll put you on the list, so then as things are progressing, I'll sending an email out to anyone who's interested, and then if you decide you don't want to, that's fine. I'll just remove you from the list, whatever. We'll be setting up, communicating as things, but right now we're looking at first, second week of October right now this year. Thank you.